For weeks, whispers have echoed through Port Charles. Half-finished conversations stop when Drew's name is mentioned. Old wounds itch. Secrets long buried begin to stir. And now, at last, it's official. Not a ghost. Not a hallucination. Not a misdirection. The real Drew. Flesh, blood, memory scars and all. And his return doesn't just shake the canvas, it fractures it. Drew's reappearance isn't quiet. It isn't polite. And it definitely isn't convenient. This isn't the Drew who left Port Charles trying to rebuild his life. This is a man who has been through hell, survived psychological warfare, identity theft, manipulation, and loss on a scale few characters ever truly recover from. And now his home. But Port Charles? It moved on without him. Or at least, it thought it did. When Drew returns, he doesn't head for the Quatermain mansion. He doesn't seek out old allies for hugs and reassurance. Instead, he does what Drew Cain does best when the world has betrayed him. White right pointing backhand index, he starts asking dangerous questions. Who knew he was gone longer than he was supposed to be? Who benefited from his absence? And most importantly, who was living his life while he was trapped in someone else's nightmare? The answers he uncovers will leave more than one Port Charles resident scrambling. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The imposter. The lies. The stolen identity. Drew's return forces everyone to face an uncomfortable truth. People believed a lie because it was easier than questioning it. And Drew? He remembers everything. The moments he missed. The choices made in his name. The relationships altered, or destroyed, because he wasn't there to stop it. This isn't just about anger. This is about reckoning. And the reckoning starts now. No one feels Drew's return more immediately than Willow. On the surface, she's relieved. Of course she is. Drew being alive and free is a miracle. But underneath that relief, there's fear. Because Drew's presence brings questions Willow isn't sure she's ready to answer. About loyalty, trust, and choices made when she thought she had no other options. When Drew finally looks her in the eye and asks, "Did you ever doubt it wasn't me?" Willow's silence may speak louder than any confession. Michael has always existed in Drew's orbit, sometimes as an ally, sometimes as something much more complicated. Drew's return threatens the fragile balance Michael has built. Business power, family loyalty, emotional control. Michael knows Drew isn't the type to come back quietly and fall in line. And when Drew begins to challenge decisions made during his absence, especially those involving ELQ, Aurora, and family alliances, Michael may find himself facing a man who refuses to be sidelined again. This isn't a screaming match. This is a Cold War. And Port Charles is the battlefield. Carly Spencer's reaction is layered, emotional, and deeply human. She's relieved Drew survived. She's furious at what he endured. And she's quietly terrified of what his return might expose. Carly has always been a survivor. She makes hard calls when others hesitate. But Drew's presence forces her to revisit decisions she made believing she was doing the right thing, with incomplete information and impossible choices. When Carly and Drew finally sit down face to face, don't expect fireworks right away. Expect something far more dangerous. White right pointing backhand index, honest silence. And silence between these two has never stayed quiet for long. If there's one reunion fans are desperate to see, it's Jason and Drew. Brothers. Mirrors. Survivors of the same experiments that shattered their identities. Jason has lived with the weight of memory loss and reconstruction for decades. Drew is still learning how to breathe with it. When the two finally cross paths again, it won't be dramatic at first. It will be raw. Jason understands what Drew lost better than anyone else. And that shared understanding may be the only thing that keeps Drew grounded as rage threatens to take over. But don't mistake that bond for peace. If Drew believes Jason knew something, and didn't act, even brotherhood may not survive the fallout. Drew Cain is a Quatermain, whether he wants to be or not. And his return reignites old power struggles inside the family. Tracy notices immediately that Drew isn't playing the role they expected him to. He's not asking permission. He's not waiting his turn. And he's not interested in being grateful. Drew walks back into Quatermain territory like a man reclaiming stolen ground, and that makes him unpredictable. Expect boardroom tension, legal maneuvering, and at least one shocking alliance no one sees coming. Here's the twist fans may not be ready for. Drew has changed. This isn't just trauma. This is evolution. He's sharper, more guarded, less forgiving. Where old Drew tried to mediate, this Drew calculates. Where old Drew trusted, this Drew verifies. And that shift makes him both compelling and dangerous. Because Drew Cain has never been a villain. But he has every reason to stop playing hero. Drew's captivity wasn't random. And Anna Devane knows it. As clues resurface and timelines are questioned, Drew's return connects to a much larger mystery involving covert operations, old enemies, and secrets that stretch beyond Port Charles. Valentin's name surfaces more than once. So does the shadow of organizations that never truly disappear. Drew may have escaped captivity, but the people responsible? They are still out there. And Drew is done running. As February 2nd kicks off, expect Fire Drew confronting the people who made decisions in his absence. Fire emotional reunions that don't go the way anyone expects. Fire power shifts in business and family dynamics. Fire a final scene that hints Drew's story is just beginning. And most importantly, White right pointing backhand index Drew makes a vow, to himself and to Port Charles, that no one will ever erase him again. Drew Cain isn't just back for drama. He's back to challenge assumptions. Back to reclaim stolen time. Back to remind Port Charles that identity isn't something you can take without consequences. And whether he finds redemption, revenge, or something darker in between, one thing is certain.